Well, my name is Toni Bell. I am the board chair and interim CEO for Columbus Landmarks Foundation. And this is an interview that's happening with one of the greatest people in Columbus Landmarks family. This is Mr. Peter Krajnak, the founder, right? You're the founder of Rogers Krajnak, and you're an
Yep.
architect, and you've been a wonderful member for Columbus Landmarks for a long time. So let's have,
Wow, quite an introduction. Thanks.
it's so good to be with you.
Yeah.
So Peter, before we talk about landmarks, could you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. I've been joyfully being an architect for almost 4 decades now and have a passion for historic buildings. In fact, one of my first buildings that I worked on is a historic church in German Village. It's St. Mary's. And
Mm.
that's actually how I first became aware of Columbus Landmarks because it won a Recce Design Award. And I thought, well, what is this all about? So as a young architect, I learned very early on about Columbus Landmarks and the power of that organization here in our community.
Wow. Now, what made you want to become an architect?
A junior year in high school, I was good at math and science and art. And if you mix all those together, it might be a profession in architecture. And so I interned with an architect downtown for a day. I shadowed him for a day. I
Mhm.
thought, yeah, this is it. I
So
was very fortunate to go to University of Cincinnati, great architecture program here in the state of Ohio. And it was a great decision. So,
I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made that decision as well, because otherwise, how else would we have met? Whoa.
yeah.
So when you came in contact with Columbus Landmarks, what was the outside of the Recce Awards, what else intrigued you?
Well, it's interesting. Back in 2018, I reached out to then Becky West, who was the executive director at that time. I had just rolled off a board and had a little bit of extra time on my hands, and I thought, maybe I need to learn more about Columbus landmarks. I was intrigued by the leanness of the staff and the board based on all the things that they were doing at the time.
Hmm.
So luckily, they accepted me on the board, immediately put me into the chair of the development committee. I'm not afraid to ask for money, and we did great. And then from there, really worked on the Endangered Properties Fund, established that whole program, and that was really satisfying for me. But the power of what Columbus Landmarks is doing for our community is what impressed me the most. Telling the story about these buildings that don't really have a voice right now. I'm losing my voice, sorry. Uh, but giving a voice to these historic buildings that are so vital to the past of Columbus,
Mhm.
but yet they have a real potential for the future of Columbus. That's what Columbus Landmarks does, and that's what I enjoy doing with them.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that history. So, can you tell us a story for our viewers? Tell us a story about Columbus Landmarks, something that you've experienced that really sticks with you today.
I go back maybe 2000, yeah, in the year 2000, we were considering getting involved in what's called a revolving fund. And that's where you put your money where your mouth is as a preservation organization.
Hmm.
You look to opportunities to purchase buildings and protect those buildings and then connect those buildings with like-minded preservation owners. And so we did a study to figure out if Columbus Landmarks should be doing this. And the answer, after we worked with some consultants, was definitely yes. In fact, we established the Endangered Properties Fund. We're very thankful that the Van Fossen estate provided us some seed money.
Hmm.
And we're very hopeful then that there's some other people in our community that see the value in an endangered properties fund and step up with some additional funding for us. That would be awesome.
Tell us what the
Um,
Endangered Properties Fund is. What
so Yeah, the Endangered Properties Fund actually identifies buildings that need protection with a preservation easement, such that their exteriors will remain as they are historically, even though they could be renovated, restored, updated, repaired, so that building, which needs to be 50 years or older,
Mhm.
can continue to have a presence in our community in the future.
So
Uh,
the external look of the building, the external look of the home and or building could remain the same so that it continues to tell people who drive by, right, a bit of the story of that
yeah,
neighborhood, of that area.
exactly. Every building has a story,
Mhm.
and some of these century-old buildings were created for a certain use, and the way in which those buildings are used today is very different than 100 years ago or 50 years ago. But the building still has a future,
Yeah.
and many times people, they look for those uh, the prom queen buildings, the ones that are really amazing, ornate. We tend to focus on the ones that are not as opportunistic for somebody to come in and save. We're looking for the ones that are more difficult to save. So telling the story of those buildings is part of the Endangered Properties Fund's role.
Mhm.
What is it that that building contributed to the community in the past? How might it contribute to the community in the future? And then who are the people that we can connect that building with to allow for it to have a future presence and a future role and a future purpose in the community?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. So Columbus Landmarks is in its 48th year, and in 2027, it will turn 50 years young. What do you see as the reason for Columbus Landmarks to be here now?
So, yeah, I always look at to the past, but try to connect it to the future.
That's a good
And
way to.
yes, in 2027, we begin our 50th year. I think it's more important that while we want to celebrate that milestone, we want to look forward to the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And what is it that Columbus Landmarks can do to keep present in mind to our community members some of the more important buildings in our priority neighborhoods. These are the neighborhoods like South Linden and Milo Grogan, King Lincoln, Bronzeville, the South Side, oh, near East Side. These are not the Bexleys and the Upper Arlingtons and the
Where they
Granvilles.
already have, those communities already have a big preservation, they have a big preservation focus in mind, and these
Yeah,
communities that you
German
mentioned.
Village is a great example of that.
Yeah.
They've got in place a great story to tell,
Mhm.
whereas these other priority neighborhoods that Columbus Landmarks has in mind to again tell the story.
Yeah.
This is where our work really will count. This is where the next 50 years will be very important for those neighborhoods with Columbus Landmarks voice telling that story, connecting those places with people who want to see those places preserved into the future.
Right. So I see it as the neighborhood having charm, right? If it's not a brand new neighborhood, it's got some, some homes that are there that are 50 years old or more. It gives a level of charm and lets people know that there's a sense of permanence. That's what I see when I drive down the street.
Mhm. But there's also gaps in the streetscape. There's places where you look and you think something's missing here.
Hmm.
And if Columbus Landmarks wasn't here, there'd be more and more gaps in our streetscape and in our neighborhoods.
Hmm.
And that's something that is very important. We don't need another parking lot downtown. We want to preserve the density and enhance the density. And in fact, we're not just about saving the old crusty buildings. We are also about promoting great design,
Great design,
design
new
that
design.
endures and inspires. Yeah. So, I
Yours.
think back, a historic building is one built before 1975. I was built before 1975, so and I don't think I'm old,
And you
but
deserve
some
to
of
be
these,
preserved.
yeah, well preserved, sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's important to understand that even though a building might have a certain architectural style that doesn't feel old, it is a historic building. It
Right.
is worth preserving. It is worth telling a story about what it was and then connecting it and preserving it for what it can be.
That's really beautiful. You've traveled the world. And one of the most recent trips I think I remember you being on was in Greece.
Yes.
And so I think about Columbus landmarks similar to the way that, I think going to ancient ruins, you get a chance to see how beautiful things are and how beautiful they were. And it also gives you a glimpse into society. Are those elements that you look for and that you also try to promote it with Columbus landmarks?
Well, I think again that goes back to the story that these buildings tell. You know, who was living there, who was working there, who was worshiping there, who was learning about things in that environment, in that space. What is it that building
Mm,
contributed to those people that in the future can connect with other people? What's the legacy of what that place provided to people in the past that it can be a continuum for people in the future.
mm,
I love going to Greece and seeing old stones. I really loved hearing the stories about the culture of the people that created that,
mm,
and then understanding the current culture of people that respect that and want to preserve it and want to continue to educate people about it. In a sense, that's exactly what Columbus Landmarks is doing.
yeah.
It's an education opportunity about these places from the past and what their opportunity is to have a future for our communities.
That's beautiful. Speaking of legacy, something really important happened
Hmm.
recently. You were recently inducted into Columbus Landmarks' Legacy Circle. That's pretty special, and congratulations.
Well, thank you. Um, yeah, I'm in great company. We think back to Bill Lance and Nancy Retchie and Jeff Darby, Bob Loverzage, Ryan Aiello, who was a board president for a while, Ann Gratisek, and me. It's a small circle right now.
Mhm.
And when I was told that I was going to be part of that circle, I thought, well, I understand what legacy means, but what is the circle all about? And so I was thinking, if you ask a handful of people to join hands and form a circle,
Yes.
they're going to do that and they're going to face inward, right? Most of
Mm,
the time, they're going to do that.
mm.
I'm going to encourage us to join
Turn
a
around.
circle, but
Mhm.
turn around and face outward.
Word.
And that way we can, even though we're centered on the mission of Columbus Landmarks, it's still there in the middle of that circle. We're focused outward to tell other people about Columbus Landmarks, connect them with us, and allow them and empower them to tell our story. Because the more people that can tell our story, the better off Columbus will be.
I love that. When I think about circles, I think about, right, the mantra of let the circle be unbroken.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a wonderful circle to be part of. And you're right, we are looking outward. And I'm saying we because
And it's,
someday I'll be part of the legacy circle as well. What would you like
yeah.
what would you like our members and supporters and people who might just be curious about Columbus landmarks, what would you like them to know? What's your message?
One message is we're a great resource. On our website is the most endangered sites list. It's a tracker list of all the properties that we have been involved with trying to save. Uh, it identifies properties that we've lost. It identifies properties that we've saved. It identifies properties that are in progress. I think last time I checked, there were 15,000 views for that atlas on our website. Um, I think we're a great resource. And for people that are curious about a certain building, I think we're a great place to start to connect the I guess to connect the past to the future.
I love that. Thank you. It's been an honor to share time with you today, Peter. Thank you for inspiring us and
Well,
thank you for all the work that you've done and continue to do. You are our past president, and you are still deeply involved with us. Thank you.
yeah, Columbus Landmarks has a special place in my heart, and look forward to serving for quite a while.
Same.
So thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, bye-bye.